Hello everybody and welcome to the Real Housewives Edit. My name is Elle and I am here to talk about the two loves of my life, editing and housewives. Well, you guys, we are at the reunion. As most of you know, I am actually past due for my baby being born, but we just know that she's a Housewives fan. This is the first daughter I'm going to have, so I have dreams of watching Housewives with her in like, I don't know, 20 years. So I feel like I'll be able to tell her about her legacy of hanging around so that I could cover at least part one of the reunion. I really hope to cover the rest of the parts of the reunion, but I'm assuming they're probably going to come out a little bit later than I would like just because of the situation. Let's just jump right in. This reunion was so amazing. I'm going to cover three parts that I really found were the most compelling parts of the reunion and the most fun in terms of the editing process. So let's jump right in.
Fine, I think Alicia.
Okay, so to start out the episode and to start out everything, they're showing the timestamps, you know, what time the ladies are arriving, and they're all arriving like in their comfy clothes. They are at dressing rooms on a soundstage or at a studio. I think it might be CBS. The reason I wanted to comment on this part, sort of this getting ready sequence, is because this is just such a fun addition to our reunions. Do you guys remember back in the day when reunions used to just lights up and they were all sitting there beautiful on the couches, and then they started to sort of like add in some more behind the scenes stuff, and now we get to see the entire run up. It makes me so happy. I hope they continue to kind of pull back the curtain, you know, without pulling back too much. It's cool to see, you know, how early they arrive to get ready and how they're kind of like having fun together. And what the editors are really doing is, you guys know this, they're starting very light because the reunions tend to get a little bit dramatic. So we want to have something that's sort of light and fun and like puts us in like kind of like an excited mood, if you will.
I know it was a good setup.
Energy. Okay.
Am I the last? No, you're not.
Okay, so that really cute moment, kind of silly moment between Crystal and Garcelle, I feel for the editors. I used to cut like little behind the scenes like teasers for the movies I was working on, and the amount of footage that you get is so ridiculous because they just basically run the camera. I mean, there's no like rhyme or reason to it. They're just hoping to get good moments. Every single moment that we see is for a purpose, and it doesn't have to be any deep purpose at this point because we're not necessarily building storyline in these reunions. But that little moment between Garcelle and Crystal kind of puts us on this thing of like, oh, they're friends, you know, they have fun, they have like a cute little relationship, and we like that.
Hi, Dorit. Someone said hi. Me. Nice to see you, stranger.
Again, they left that little moment of Kyle talking to Dorit, kind of like, got me interested in it because Kyle says hi, Dorit says hi, and then Dorit says hi, stranger, almost like, I haven't seen you in a long time, or we haven't touched base in a long time. And I was like, ooh, what's that? Like, it just piqued my attention. And again, everything that the editors are putting in is going to be for a purpose. Before, the Crystal and Garcelle moment was to show that they have a cute relationship and that they're getting closer. And then that moment right there, it might have some sort of implications. We'll just have to find out.
Do you want some bacon?
I'm not even on vacation.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Okay, so the bacon is a callback to, you know, Sutton saying that she eats bacon even though she's a vegetarian. I love having Dorit sip the drink, and they put in this post sound. I don't understand this trope, but I think it's hilarious. If you guys notice, pretty much every time a housewife is drinking a drink out of like a straw, they make it sound like the drink's like at the very end. Usually they'll use it for a comedic moment, like in a confessional or something like that. But I just think it's funny, even in this little montage of getting ready, they had to put that sound effect in. Sometimes I wonder if it's like behind the scenes inside jokes. They definitely did not need to put that in, but they did. And I just wonder if all the editors just laugh at that. Like, it doesn't matter when someone's taking a sip of a drink, we're putting that sound in.
Cheers.
Ow, that's hooked up. Okay, I'm having a breakdown.
No, don't.
How are you feeling today?
Okay, so again, a little moment of Erica. What does that kind of tell us? Erica is maybe having some anxiety about this reunion, right? Like, of course she got hurt, but saying I'm gonna have a breakdown and then telling her friend to F off when they ask how she's doing, clearly there's something that's going on with her where she's like not like totally maybe thrilled about what's coming up. I mean, I've heard these reunions are super stressful. I can't even imagine in a million years how stressful this would be. The stuff that you know you need to apologize for, you know you're gonna be, you know, held accountable for. This is why I'll never be a housewife. I'll always be on the other side with you guys on a YouTube channel, very safe, relatively safe.
Welcome to the stage.
Well, hi, Rinna.
Okay, so they have that quick little intro of Andy. They have sort of Andy's music in the background. It's not necessarily the music that they use every time, but it's a very kind of celebratory, fun music as he walks in. We see the back of him. We see some cameras, some lights. It feels very like exciting, glamorous. And then you hear this weird voiceover of this guy say,
Welcome to the stage.
I highly doubt when Andy Cohen's walking onto the soundstage, they have a man's voice saying welcome to the stage as he walks in. But most likely what is happening is anytime you hear like any of those types of voiceovers of guys, you know, saying things, you have like assistant directors that are all kind of talking to each other either on walkie or they're using microphones, you know, they're testing microphones. Sometimes I'm sure they just use those little sound bites, or the editors like have them say a bunch of sound bites so that they can use them for the actual like intro to the reunion, to say like welcome to the stage, or like all right, time to get the ladies in. They're not really maybe saying those things, but they work really well in the episode.
Hey.
Wow, she's got manila envelopes.
Yeah, of course
Wow.
I do. We are at the Beverly Hills Hotel. Hi, ladies.
Garcelle, you on Raya?
Okay, so remember in the trailer they had like that, it was kind of a big moment to have the ladies walking in all together, filing in, but in here it's kind of glossed over. Like the girls are in and then we cut right to them in their chairs getting touched up while they're already in their chairs. They're not these big grand moments when you're actually on set. Like they make it seem exciting with the music and the flashing and the touch-ups and all this stuff. But honestly, like if you've been on a set, and maybe a lot of you have, it's relatively boring, and it's like, it can be a little stressful depending on what position that you're in. It's not this kind of like grand experience what they're trying to make it seem like, which it's great that they make it seem like that because it's more exciting for us. But just so you guys know, take out the music, take all that stuff. They're just shuffling onto a soundstage.
Raya yet?
No.
I joined.
You did?
Yep.
Okay, if you did, maybe I will.
Did you get a reduction?
So did you guys notice that they cut to Andy, his hand holding the cards when he said, I joined about Raya, which is like a famous person's dating app, I think. They probably just didn't have a camera on Andy during that exchange between him and Garcelle, but they wanted to include it in there. He's obviously mic'd up. And then they had to kind of cut to different things. They obviously had Garcelle, but they didn't want to just leave the camera on Garcelle. They didn't have a camera on Andy specifically.
Reduction.
I got a reduction, yeah.
It looks so good.
I'm so happy. I did not need to be double D.
Here we go, guys. We're off and running.
Welcome.
Cool, so we got our monitor shot. We got a little exchange between, you know, the girls and Kyle. We got a little inside information about something that Kyle just had done, which she seems very happy about. So this is all just very fun for us. We love the peek behind the curtain, and this right here is kind of like a really good example of that.
Welcome to the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills Season 12 reunion. I'm Andy Cohen, joined by the exquisite women of Beverly Hills. And let me just start by saying this is the chicest reunion I have ever seen.
So just real quick, you guys, Andy is just so funny. I love Andy. I know people have like bad things to say about him. I could never say a bad word about Andy. I love him. I love that he produces these shows, but then he also does the reunion. He's shady and he loves these women and he loves the Housewives. Do you guys remember in the trailer when we had that sort of like opaque pink title writing showing timestamps and where they were? That is actually kind of the color of Andy's jacket. It's also kind of the color of the Beverly Hills Hotel. Andy is kind of matching that Beverly Hills Hotel motif, and that's kind of where they got that color for that reunion trailer that I just covered.
As you can see by the empty spot on the sofa, we are one housewife short today. Diana is not feeling well, and we hope to be checking in with her from home later in the show. Hello, Sutton.
Hello, Andy.
You look beautiful.
Well, thank you.
Okay, so I always like these little intros, kind of let these intros breathe, meaning they don't like cut them short. They kind of let the spaces happen. They let any awkwardness happen. Whatever the ladies say, they kind of like, they don't breeze past it. I think this kind of the intros with Andy and the women are always like the most indicative of how the actual reunion is going to go and how Andy feels about each of the women. I don't know about you guys, but that's kind of how I feel. So he asks Sutton, you know, how she's doing. He says she looks beautiful. He seems very comfortable with Sutton. So that to me right away tells me like, I feel like he's going to not go easy on Sutton. He just doesn't have maybe a lot against Sutton. He doesn't seem like there's a lot of tension when he's saying hi to her. I don't know about you guys.
Dolce?
Not Dolce. Peter Dundas.
All right. Hi, Garcelle.
Hi, Andy.
You are in all black. This is about as dominatrix as we've gotten from you.
Oh, I think so.
Is that your mood tonight?
That's my mood, and I also just wanted to switch it up.
Hi, Kyle.
Hi. Okay. So, you know, he asked Garcelle about her outfit and, you know, again, it feels very light, just like he was with Sutton. And then after when she says, I wanted to switch it up, they give a reaction shot of Erica, which I thought was kind of an interesting reaction shot. Whenever they do this, especially in a reunion, it's kind of cluing us into something that's going to come down the path. Just by having Erica kind of give this weird look over something that's so simple, I feel like it's telling us that maybe there's some tension between Erica and Garcelle that's going to be worked out later in the reunion.
Hi, Kyle.
Hi, Andy.
Wow, it took you all this time to go blonde.
Yeah, here I am.
Hi, Crystal.
Hi.
Great to see you.
Okay, so that felt a little bit awkward for me coming from Kyle, and they left it in. The only thing he really had to say to her was like, wow, you went blonde. And then she kind of like, I don't know, like looks a little uncomfortable. I couldn't tell, was he saying it? And it was almost like a weird Shady moment because her two sisters are blonde. Like, I was like, what is going on? Like with Andy with that, it just felt like it had a slight bit of shade because she seemed a little uncomfortable. But again, it's foreshadowing for the rest of the reunion where, you know, she seems pretty uncomfortable this entire reunion.
You too. How are you?
Good. Okay. Hi, Dorit.
Hi, Andy.
You are
Okay, so that one with Crystal was super awkward. Like, I felt like Andy was super awkward with her, and they left in that moment of her kind of being like, okay, are you gonna ask me something? Like, he didn't ask her anything. He was just like, hey, how are you doing? And she was like, I'm good. And then he was like, I'm moving on. And I remember seeing that and being like, ooh, he's got words for Crystal later. And as you guys know, we were right.
always give us dramatic hair at a reunion.
Yeah, I like to.
Hi, Dorit.
Hi, Andy.
Love your look today.
Thank you.
I love your hair.
The reunion.
Speaking of
So what a great cutaway, kind of reminding us how many times that Dorit has had, you know, fantastic hair at reunions. And they must have been so happy to be able to have that one clip where she says,
The reunion.
I know they just have, you know, folders and archives and bins of everything. I don't know how they do it. I really wish I knew a little bit more about that, but there's so many ways to do it. I just know they have a probably very good organizational system of, you know, all of the ladies and all of the things that they've done and all of the, you know, outfits they've worn and reunions, etc.
Speaking of drama, hi, Erica.
Hey,
How do you describe your look tonight?
when in doubt, go for ginger and casino.
There you
So,
go.
Be
There you go.
sparkly.
Last but not least, hey, Rinna.
Hi.
Okay, so kind of a light exchange with Erica. Just on a sort of technical note, Erica's kind of sparkly gown, those types of dresses look so good like in the mirror, but once you get them on set, they're so hard because if you guys can see, like the little mirror like sparklies are kind of reflecting on her face, and it's going to happen the entire time. She can't help it. There's so many lights set up on a set. I'm always curious why these people who have seasoned stylists still choose to pick stuff that reflects light or looks crazy in the light or is just like the wrong color to kind of bounce off their face. I'm always amazed. Like, Erica has like a glam squad. She's got, I mean, if anyone should know, she'd be the one to know not to wear like mirror sparkles because it's gonna put flickers all over your face. I think she looks gorgeous. Don't get me wrong, but I'm just always like, who's in charge?
Hey, Rinna.
Hi, Andy.
How are you?
I feel good. I've got
Little Lois is with me. Oh. This is the bird that was in Mexico. Oh. So Lois is here with me, and I feel that the angels are protecting me.
Wow, that's nice.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so a moment from Rinna that again feels like she planned this. I know you guys know my biggest complaint with Rinna is that everything feels planned and produced, and it just is not authentic for me. I don't get many authentic moments for her. I'm not invested in her probably the way she wants us to be invested. She brings up Lois again, like, rest in peace, Lois. You know, Lois seemed, she had a long, life. I'm just not as invested in Lois as I think Rinna would like me to be, because she doesn't let us into anything else, and she tries to produce and create, and it seems to always miss the mark. Here, again, she brought out the little thing, she was ready. And then they have 2 reaction shots from Kyle. Both of them, to be honest, I felt like were anchoring moments for me personally, because the way Kyle was reacting was kind of the way my face felt when I saw that moment. I was kind of like, it's not an eye roll moment, because of course it's about her mother and all that stuff, but it's kind of just like, okay, like, just say hi to Andy. Like, we don't need like something that was created. The angels are protecting you from what? I think you're okay. You're in a safe space. I do love her hair this way, though, I have to say. I love Rinna's hair like this. I'm going to skip forward in the reunion. I'm not going to cover just the entire thing, but I did want to cover like some main moments.
Okay. So, Doreen, a matte black wind chime.
I mean, that's a chic wind chime, and wind chimes are not very chic.
Well, I mean, guess what? Jamie Lee Curtis is here. Let's bring her out.
Stop.
Really?
Just kidding. Actually, I'm not kidding. She is.
Okay, so that entire moment where Andy's kind of trying to fake them out, there's no music.
I mean, guess what? Jamie Lee Curtis is here. Let's bring her out.
Stop.
Really?
Just kidding.
They're letting pauses in there. It feels very kind of real, to be honest, like him trying to fake them out and them all being like, oh man. And then, of course, when Jamie walks in, she gets a big sort of introduction song.
Actually, I'm not kidding. She is here. Jamie Lee.
As she's kind of walking in, like, ready to promote this thing. I'm not going to go through the whole Jamie sequence, but there was one thing I wanted to point out.
Jamie Lee Curtis.
Jamie, Erica, nice to meet you. Lisa,
I'm Andy. How are you?
This was wild to me. I just couldn't believe their reactions were so big to her coming on. I love her. I mean, I don't know much about her, but I think she's a great person. I'm just like, there's like some sort of generational gap missing, because she's just not to me like the most famous. I know she's like iconic in kind of the horror world, but they are acting like this is like, I can't even think of a celebrity that would, but I guess they're just effusive.
Have a seat. Join us. How are you? Have a seat.
So chic.
Welcome. I mean,
Hi, Andy. I've never.
Okay, so this is really the only part that I wanted to cover is what's about to happen. So obviously we know this is a cross promotion, Halloween Ends is the movie, and I think it's put out by NBC Universal, and NBC Universal is the parent company for Bravo, and so this is cross promotion. They're kind of getting it out of the way at the beginning. This moment right here, I feel like Andy this was like a last minute thing, or he wasn't quite prepared, and I just loved it from an editorial standpoint. Let's get into it.
Met you.
I know. I'm happy to meet you.
We've never met.
And I feel like you're an honorary housewife this season.
I'm very honored to be so. I had the unexpected best time I've ever had, and the result was unexpectedly best time.
Well, what was the result?
I had no idea.
Okay, so I'm sure it was kind of hard to make this feel natural. So Andy's doing his very best, to make this natural. Oh, what was the thing, But you can tell there's quick cuts after he says stuff. There's quick cuts after everyone says stuff, because whenever you have something that feels a little bit more put on, you have to move through it quicker to make it feel less put on. Imagine if the pauses that I'm sure were actually going on set were actually playing out on screen. We might have a totally different feeling from this scene and be like, this feels so off and so promotional and so fake. But when you move through stuff quick, you'll see these edits are very quick. We don't kind of feel the, fakeness of it, I guess. I'm just gonna go forward to the one part I did want to talk about.
Jamie, you are the original Scream Queen who's been playing this role in Halloween.
Okay, so this is the part I wanted to really jump to, was with Andy reading from his cue cards to talk to her, and they have this 2-shot, and they literally could not get around it. If they had cut to just the single of Andy, you would have seen the top of his forehead. Andy's really quick on his feet because he has his late night show. Everything else he's saying is much more to the ladies and stuff coming off the top of his head, but this type of stuff, not only is it hard to do on set, but it's very hard to edit to make it feel authentic, and I think they did a pretty good job.
For almost 45 years, how crazy is it to see that phrase?
So like, how crazy is it? And he has to take a stop and break.
How crazy is it?
And he looks down at the cue cards, like almost you can feel, and I know he's not feeling it, but I personally am feeling his panic of like, oh my gosh, like I just almost like lost my sentence here.
So big and know that you're the OG.
I'm just astonished in the same way that you...
Cool, so they kind of cut away from him and they cut to Kyle because he probably continued to look down at the cue cards, which again, I do not fault him for, but I just know that that was a lot of like kind of setup that he had to do and kind of do it off the cue cards and make it seem natural. And the editors wanted to kind of help him out. So they covered, what he was saying with Kyle. They probably took out some pauses, etc. Okay, now I'm going to skip to another part that I wanted to cover in this reunion.
I want to turn to the dark comments that Sutton supposedly made last year. Crystal, Erica seemed to pinpoint the issue. You were implying Sutton made racist comments, but refused to reveal what they were.
Do you think you exaggerated or made something up?
So just when they're introing, when they kind of come back from a commercial break, or when they're introing a new topic, you'll hear that music kind of start as Andy's starting a question.
I want to turn to the dark comments that Sutton supposedly made.
Not suspenseful music, but it kind of gets you in this mode of like, something's about to be talked about that's new. The music cues really kind of help us move through chapters, especially in the reunions. Silence is used a lot because some of the moments can be super raw and what they're saying doesn't need anything behind it to kind of, emphasize it to us. And then they have this music to sort of like start new topics. So this music that came in sort of started a new topic, and here we are, we're flashing back to something that Crystal said. I wanted to talk about sort of this Crystal kind of sequence where she's really having trouble, to me, very relatable, because I feel like this would be me in a reunion, forgetting what I said, not very fast on my feet, not quick, coming back with things, not able to explain myself. But they did her dirty in the edit, not necessarily like they made her worse, but they didn't help her. Let's put it that way.
Up or
I'm not making anything up. What I've said was things were said that were hurtful.
When you don't say what it is, people are going to fill in the blank.
Oh,
and it's going to be a lot worse.
I need to give context to the experience, right? This was the very first time I spoke to Sutton in my life. Knowing Sutton today.
So those reaction shots, especially Kyle's reaction shot, is definitely like judgmental and like, here she goes again with this sort of like, I don't know, millennial speak. And then they cut to Sutton and Garcelle and they're kind of like, okay, go ahead, explain yourself.
I wouldn't have had that same feeling or energy about the conversation. We would have had a different experience.
But when you brought it up a year later, you did know her.
When you and Sutton had your thing, I felt like no matter what she said, you were going to say, are you that girl?
There was a lot more said prior to that. That was very dark. It wasn't.
So in these flashbacks, they make them black and white. You guys know, we've talked about this before. The reason why they want to pull out all of the color is because they don't want to confuse the audience. If the audience is kind of looking down or looking away, they want to make sure it's very clear this is a flashback. So they make it black and white while she's talking about this. And again, like you can see the demeanor and how Crystal is talking about this subject in that flashback versus what she's doing now on the couch feels very different. I personally felt like by kind of outing Crystal with her sort of, not being able to find her story was actually really good for her. to actually stay on this show, because I do think that that's the sort of stuff maybe we're looking for, a little bit more layers with Crystal beyond just the eating disorder. And this to me felt like us as an audience are a little bit more interested in Crystal after this. So when I say like the editors did her dirty, I don't mean it like they made her look bad. I think they just like really showed the situation and didn't try to sugarcoat it. And I actually think it's going to be better for her if she does want to come back.
It's something specific. It was
not something specific.
It was the overall conversation that made me feel a certain way.
Why not say there was not one thing, it was the general tone?
Okay, so they got that reaction shot from Garcelle where Garcelle's like almost sighing, like this is not going well. And then you have the little slightly judgy look of Kyle. All of these things are really supposed to be relating to the audience. Maybe you are Garcelle, maybe you are Kyle, whoever it is, all of those reaction shots are anchoring us to who's on screen. If they didn't anchor us with reaction shots whatsoever and we just saw Crystal talking about this or saw Andy kind of like it was just between Andy and Crystal, we might feel kind of removed from it, but these reaction shots tie us in and make us feel like seen.
It was the general tone of the conversation that led me to feel badly.
Did you guys not feel that way from me? That I
very
said
specific.
No,
you were very specific.
No, very specific.
And you said,
left
said
it
something very dark.
and
I
you-
can't even say it. It's so bad. And
then they have that reaction of Sutton where she's almost like, maybe she's like feeling sad for Crystal, but she's also like, okay, you dug this grave and you should have fixed it before, giving us some insight into their relationship too.
you double down on what happens live.
I will say the conversation today, if it was someone that I didn't know, I would still say the same words. I would still feel like this was heavy and dark and it was not okay. But
what
it's
is
because
not okay?
But what is it?
But
See,
saying
it's not
overall
like-
tone versus it was something so dark I can't repeat it.
I'm going to say tone.
That are two
I'm gonna
completely
take it-
different things.
I'm going to say the
Because you know
tone
what
of the
I'm saying?
conversation.
Like if you put something like that.
What I thought is so interesting, just not even from editorial standpoint, the way Crystal speaks, if you turn down the sound, you would be like, oh, Crystal's making the most sense in the room. There's just something that's so confident about her in the way that she speaks, but the words coming out of her mouth, she's definitely floundering in this situation. Do you guys sense that? I'm a little bit off kilter watching because I'm like, wait, is she making good points? Because just the way she's presenting it, I definitely relate with her. She's floundering a bit in what she's saying.
Out there, and you don't back it up.
I'm telling you now,
And
it's
that's
a tone
not
of
fair to
conversation.
Okay, but let me
Sutton.
ask you a
It's not
question,
fair
and then
to
I want to
Sutton.
hear what you have to say. Then when I asked you on Watch What Happens Live, was that the comment? You said to me,
That wasn't the
no, it
specific-
was worse.
No, I'm sorry. That was not the comment that I was referring to.
What
So
was
there
it?
It was
was
the
a
whole comment.
So again, Erica's reaction shot is probably a lot of us going, wait, what? It doesn't make sense.
No, it was just the conversation.
So there's nothing specific.
Nothing
But you
specific.
do realize you're saying completely opposite of what you said to us then.
There was a lot more said prior to that.
Okay.
That was very dark.
You weren't telling the truth in La Quinta.
And they have to do that flashback again, just not the best flashback for Crystal in this moment, because again, her presentation of the information on the couch is so different than what she said back then. It's so clear right here. This is not lost on me that they are being so hard on Crystal about what she said, and they're just being so hard on Crystal, but they're not being hard on Rinna in the same way. Like, all of that is not lost on me, you guys. I'm just commenting on the editing on this particular part of the reunion, but I understand the irony and how much more pressure someone like Crystal or Garcelle gets under than some of these other ladies for stuff that they said, for little tiny specific details. I mean, the hypocrisy is so crazy. You guys don't need to tell me in the comments that I missed that, because I definitely didn't. It's infuriating, but kind of part of watching these shows, in my opinion.
What you're saying.
No, this is my experience. You called my experience lying.
No, not your experience. What you said was she said something dark.
That's how I felt.
Okay, so after Garcelle speaks, and she is truly, like, I would say, our voice of reason, silence is so strong.
No, not your experience. What you said was she said something dark.
remember the moment we had where it was kind of cute between Garcelle and Crystal? Like, we know that they're kind of friends, but Garcelle's still holding her feet to the fire on this. And then they kind of let this space, they let this pause go out before Crystal responds.
What you said was she said something dark.
That's how I felt.
If they had taken that pause out and let Crystal, you know, respond really fast.
What you said was she said something dark.
That's how I felt.
Garcelle's point might have been lost a little bit in the wash, but they let it kind of breathe, which always gives more weight to what that person said.
Yeah, but it wasn't a feeling the way you said it. It wasn't a feeling.
Do you understand that you said
And also, what I could not understand is, I kept on saying to you, what did she say? What did she say? Because if she said something that was racist, I would have to question my friendship with her.
It felt like you wanted us to believe she said something racist.
I do not want that. And if I wanted to bring it up, I would have done it 2 years ago.
What a cop-out.
So you guys can hear there's tons of space and tons of pauses being left in here. Again, they could have been manufactured pauses, but my guess is they're probably happening on set the way they are. And that's why I was saying the editors didn't really do her any favors by speeding up this conversation, kind of moving through it quicker, taking out those pauses. You know, if anything, I'm assuming they left more space in there to make it feel more awkward and more like she didn't know what to say, or she doesn't know how to respond, or she's totally lost in this.
Go.
What a cop-out.
Do you find that comment about the...
And then they had that little moment of Erica saying,
What a cop-out.
we pick it up, and I guarantee you she said it like almost under her breath because no one comments on it, but I'm sure they turn that mic way up in the edit so that we as the audience can hear
When
it.
I watched it, you do. Why did you find that offensive?
I remember Porter asked to have friends over, and they were sitting in the jacuzzi, and I'm like, there's my white child with black girls in there. A Chinese girl was in the jacuzzi, and then like probably a redheaded Irish Catholic girl. And I'm like, this is what it should be.
I found it a very offensive conversation, and you guys don't have to.
Okay.
And that's
Sutton,
it.
what's your reaction?
Okay, and again, the uses of pauses there was like those, I call those like shady pauses, when she was like,
And you guys don't have to.
and then you go to Andy.
Okay.
He says it, and then he has like his judgy Andy look, and then they give him even more space, and then they go back to Crystal saying like,
And that's
Sutton,
it.
what's your...
let's just stop talking about this, please. But they definitely are giving those kind of shady pauses, especially to Andy, to really make the point, probably to make us feel like if we're watching this and we're going, I don't know about this Crystal, that maybe, you know, they're kind of agreeing with us or allowing us to feel the same way through the edit.
Maybe I used words that I shouldn't have used, and we've talked about this, and I've learned a lot of stuff. Because we can be friends and we can move through it, I think the respect from this group needs to be there as well.
Why make this okay? Why is this okay?
Why is this all of a sudden
Why is
smoothed
it
out?
okay?
Why can't you guys allow us to be okay?
I think...
Yeah, like, they're smooth. We're good now, right? Like, I don't understand, why do Rinna and Erica have to take this so seriously? It's the same thing with Kathy and Kyle. They're good, just let them be good. It's such a hard one, guys, because, and this is not editorial, we are annoyed by this whole thing. Like, just let them, if they want to work it out, why is it your business anymore? But at the end of the day, we're watching a show and we have women on here who want to make everything their business. And that's kind of why we like them in a way, in the drama, kind of gossipy stuff way. And so them, you know, being like, no, it's not okay that it's smoothed over. It's par for the course. Like, I know it's annoying, and I was watching it being like, why do you guys care so much? Let them be friends, like let the peace be there. But at the same time, I'm like, oh yeah, they're housewives. I don't know, I'd love to hear your thoughts below. Please tell me your thoughts. There was one more part that I wanted to cover with this Crystal stuff, and that is this little moment with Erica when they're talking about the Michael Jackson exchange. I'm just gonna watch that real quick with you guys.
As a millennial, you said you weren't surprised that the women didn't know that requesting Michael Jackson was problematic these days.
What?
Is requesting Michael Jackson problematic?
Yes, I think so.
Why?
Okay, so they had that reaction shot from Kyle just real quick, like, wait, what? So like it shows that none of these women are really in the loop of that, I guess.
Why?
So it's problematic because Of the accusations.
Because of the
against them.
accusations.
Yes.
Accusations.
He beat the case.
But it's accusations.
They're accusations, yeah.
He beat the case.
Think reality.
Okay, so that moment with Erica to me was so telling that they left it in.
He beat the case.
They really let that moment breathe with a lot of space in between, and they even got that reaction shot from Kyle because obviously we know that is referencing her own point of view so hard because she's so into this, like, if I beat the case, it means I am innocent, everything is great. If charges are dropped or things are dismissed, that means I am in the clear. They really had to hammer and show Erica being so, you know, convicted on that point. And I just thought that was funny from an editorial standpoint. Okay, so we're gonna cover just a brief little part of this Diana stuff because I thought it was so interesting for a couple reasons. I'm not gonna cover the whole section because then this video will be 10 hours long and I'll never have time to edit it before we have our Housewives baby. But I wanna talk about a couple little points of the Diana stuff.
Joining us now from home, here is Diana Jenkins. Hi, Diana.
So they kind of cut to that shot where you can see a camera in the foreground and basically you're seeing what the women are seeing, which is a screen of Diana at home. Then they cut to actually her in her home so we don't see the screen.
Hi, Diana.
Hi, everybody. Hi. I am so sorry I'm not there.
I know that you're very sick, but I gotta tell you, if this is sick, you look pretty good. How do you feel?
You don't want to see what I look like this morning.
Well,
Okay, so Andy, right away, what an awkward situation for Andy. I did notice like he was like yelling and I was like, I wanted to be like, you know, it's like when little kids put like headphones on and they like scream because they can't hear their own voice. I wanted to just be like, Andy, I'm sure your mic is going right into her room. Like you don't have to yell to the screen, but I thought it was very cute and endearing Andy moment.
I want to start with some burning questions. Your lawyers have been very busy over the last few weeks. You've been sending cease and desist letters because there are a lot of rumors about you online that you're trying to clear up. And I guess the biggest accusation was that you were some sort of a madam. And
so basically what Andy right now is doing, reunions are really to resolve a lot of storyline that went on. So there was storyline, you know, about this madam thing, about the Epstein stuff. So Andy, just because we know we have limited kind of time with Diana, Andy's just going down the line with these things. I'm not sure if this is exactly how it went on set. I have no idea how much they cut out. I know they shoot for 12 hours and they only give us what, maybe 3 or 4 episodes of 40 minutes each. So there is so much that we're missing, but I know in the edit, at least what the editors did here, was they just basically went down every storyline point for Diana as quick as they could to resolve it because they're just, I don't think, not gonna give a ton of time to Diana in this reunion.
and that your book was a catalog of call girls in some way.
Nothing can be more further from the truth. Really, that book was done.
Okay, so we have reaction shots from the ladies, almost like they're like wondering as well. The thing I want to point out here, I think Diana is definitely reading from something. She's doing a lot of this whenever she's talking about any of the points that are in the legal realm, you know, talking about the book or talking about the bot situation. She is saying stuff that doesn't feel right coming out of her mouth, especially because she has herself has said, like, you know, English is not her first language and it's hard for her to come up with phrases, but nothing could be further from the truth. Like it doesn't feel natural coming out of her mouth. And also you can see, I'm going to show you guys, her eyes are just looking up. I think she has something written up there. I do believe there's someone in the room, PR person, a legal person, whatever, and they've written some stuff out or they have some sort of teleprompter. Then in the moments where she's actually just talking and being real, she's looking right at the lens like I'm doing right now.
Was done. I'm very proud of it. And it has done a lot of good for a lot of people. So it broke my heart that I have to now defend something.
So again, she's like it broke my heart and it did a lot of good for a lot of people.
It has done a lot of good for a lot of people.
So subtle, so you guys can see the difference. Sometimes you'll see me like flick my eyes over to the monitor because I just shoot this alone. I don't have anyone helping me. So when I'm shooting, I'm looking over at my monitor just to make sure that my light levels are good, that my sound is still working, things like that. It's very subtle, but I'm sure you guys notice it a lot. Same sort of thing if I was to look up here and I was if I had a monitor or cue cards or something up here, it's subtle. Like, you can't really see it, but if you really look close, you can see it, and it's much different than when I'm just looking in the lens right here.
Something so special.
There's a lot of online chatter linking you with Jeffrey Epstein. What can you tell me about that? Did you know him?
Never met that man. It's very actually easy to find out. The picture.
Okay. Didn't that feel like it was being read? I mean, guys.
Never met that man.
Maybe that's just how she would say that, but it just felt like it was like she's never said that phrase in her life and her eyes are up, so I don't know. We're gonna skip forward to a little bit of a different part here. Oh my gosh, I just stopped my camera because my little toddler ran in with the babysitter, and I was just looking at Instagram for a second and I saw a little piece of BravoCon, and Lisa Rinna was walking onto some panel and people were booing her from the audience. I don't like that at all. You guys know I have a strong opinion of Rinna, but not to boo her. I don't like that at all. What do you guys think? I understand there's a lot of not great stuff going down, but this is not that serious. If we were at BravoCon, I don't know, maybe some of you are at BravoCon, we would not be booing anyone, okay? That's what I want for our community. Just as a side note, you guys, if you guys look at each of their single shots, you can really see how much a background matters with how a lady looks, how their dress is setting off the background, how it's kind of affecting with the way their faces look. Like, these are little tiny aesthetic things that I just, as an editor's point of view, I look at this stuff because you want it to be aesthetically pleasing. It's not just about, you know, we just want beautiful people on our screen all the time. We like looking at things that are aesthetically pleasing, and especially in shows like this where there's glamour. I wonder if they set up the women like on the couch. I know it has specific, like the places next to Andy are the most coveted, but I do wonder if they do kind of set up the women and look at what's behind them and see if it sort of sets off their outfit in a nice way. Whether we know it or not, we look at that stuff and we go like, oh, don't like, or ooh, I like. This whole set is sort of clashing with everyone's outfits, but at least the single shots, the backgrounds where you have the blurry background, they really made them work with each outfit.
There are a lot of people right now accusing you of being behind the bots that went after Garcelle's 14-year-old. I'm curious, Garcelle, what's going through your mind? Was there a point where you thought she was behind it?
So they cut to that horrific tweet. They blurred everything else out and they bolded the part that said, "Leave Diana alone." When you see that, you're like, oh, actually, if they're all talking about Diana when it comes to these tweets.
Yeah, I did. If I'm going to be honest, I did think she was behind it. Absolutely.
You think I would send that to Jax?
I did.
I mean, you obviously have a very low opinion of me that if you think that I would be behind bullying a 14-year-old.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can see in these shots where she's actually talking to Garcelle, she is not looking up at her cue cards. She is looking straight at the lens, which I'm assuming the lens is, you know, she can see the ladies and she can see them all.
Diana, there are a lot of people right now.
Yeah, so they kind of showed in the interstitial between the actual like commercial breaks, they showed that they're at CBS Radford. They've basically taken a soundstage. A soundstage is basically someplace where they can control sound, light, you know, temperature, all those things. They have all the equipment at their disposal. That's what sound stages on lots are really for. You'll see a lot of, you know, TV shows or sitcoms they used to do on sound stages. I've talked to you guys before about the confessionals. They shoot confessionals on sound stages. They don't go to the actual women's houses because there's just too many unknown factors. And the biggest enemy of shooting anything is all of the unknown factors. You want to take all of those out, and sound stages do those very well. So where they were getting dressed looked like an old motel hotel, but CBS in particular is a bit of an outdated studio. I don't know about the equipment. I'm sure this equipment is really nice, but when you walk on that studio lot, like, it's not super, super glamorous. It's looked the same for like 20 years. So that's.
I don't know how evil I must appear that you would even consider the fact that I would do that to Jax.
Diana also sent me.
So after she says that, the thing like, how evil do I have to appear? They have the reaction shots from everyone, but there's total silence, and that is such an editorial choice.
The fact that I would do that to Jax.
I'm sure maybe that's what happened on set, but they definitely wanted that pause to come out there because obviously a lot of the viewers, a lot of the people that have been watching this season, that's how they feel about Diana. So
I'm talking. Can I finish, please? She also sent me a threat.
Woo, okay, when Garcelle says that, can I finish please? And then they show Erica and Rinna kind of looking up at Diana. It's almost like Erica and Rinna maybe agree a little bit with Garcelle because Diana was just like talking right over her. And then they show this little reaction shot of Diana, which is just not favorable to her. That's all I'm gonna say.
A threatening text.
What was the text, Diana?
I've asked her to pencil the name when we were getting death threats.
First of all, Jax was at his dad's house when he got the very last text. That was horrific. And in the post, it said about the knee on the neck. It mentioned leave Diana alone.
So they go right back to that same flash that we just got with the leave Diana alone. They kind of bold it out again. They really, really want to hammer that tweet in particular because this is a huge plot point.
He wrote on the text, "You've gone too far," and posted that. He's a 14-year-old kid. He gets this horrendous message. He's not thinking, let me take out Diana's name so she's not implicated. He put it out there because...
So they really let this little sequence where Garcelle is explaining herself and the whole situation, they didn't cut it up to try to push through this time. They let her take her time. This felt the realest part of the reunion to me. And honestly, like, I know I've talked to you guys about Diana before, where I've been like, oh, Diana's just over it. And maybe she's just like, I don't know, she's not like the villain that we're looking for. I actually felt watching this, like I got a kind of a pit in my stomach. The way she is like too dark for the show. I know the Erica stuff is dark. I know there's a lot of dark stuff. The Jen Shah stuff is dark, but I felt like, I don't know, there was just some feeling I felt watching this and the way she was responding to Garcelle and all of the moments. I love Asher, but maybe we don't need this.
Because he was fearful he had enough. So Diana thinks that we should have taken her name out.
No, I said pencil, protect our families. Protect our families.
But Diana,
because we're
I'm
getting
saying,
death threats.
when Jax received that, he wasn't thinking about protecting anybody but himself.
I think she's saying, could you have deleted it, penciled out, and then he could have reposted it maybe.
Wow, so the editors could have cut out this whole thing with Kyle kind of jumping in. It would have been an easy cutout, but they definitely weren't about to do that. A lot of people think Kyle gets like a really good edit. She gets a victim edit, you know, that they're really kind to her, that she has some pull. But these are the moments where I see where I'm like, no.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Pencil.
Are you kidding me? You want me? No, wait a minute.
No,
so you want, in the middle of me trying to protect my child, I have to then come and save all you?
You don't need to save me.
This is outrageous. Everybody had picked it up. Right. So now I have to come and save you.
So this moment where Garcelle is really like going for it, I felt it so hard. And you guys know the editors and everyone else did too, because no music, no sound effects, letting the spaces play out, everything feels really real and raw.
No,
when I'm dealing with my son,
I'm saying maybe that's what she meant.
That's outrageous to me.
I do understand, sweetheart, but what I'm telling you that we got death threats. In my country, when they issue threats, those are actual threats.
I just was like, what the heck? The threats are coming maybe from here. Like, where maybe she's saying like, I have PTSD from getting threats. But I was like, whoa.
Well, your threat was an actual threat to me as well.
What was the threatening message?
It was pretty much, if anything happens to my family, I'm coming for you.
But how? Was it?
So every time she makes a point and they bring in like another tweet or a text or anything like that, you can hear it's silent except for this sound effect.
Was it illegally or physically? I said if something happens to my kids.
A threat is a threat. Are we going to dissect a threat? A threat is a threat.
No,
you've done nothing but harass me on social media.
I had a murder in my family. My family has been murdered. Murder is...
Okay, the reactions from Crystal and Sutton right there, again, anchoring us because that felt so random.
Murder is murder. And when somebody tells you they're gonna stab your son or a daughter.
This is not a funny topic. I'm not laughing at it, but I have to laugh at Andy's reaction. They have her saying something very serious, you know, murder is murder, which is true. I mean, I can imagine that she takes things very seriously, but the way she reacted and responded and came after Garcelle, there were lots of options for her in that moment. Andy's reaction shot right there, I was like, wow, these editors are amazing. I really think that was actually his reaction shot, but the fact that they put it in there, especially when she's trying to make things so serious, no one's liking Diana in this. The editors don't like her. I really just don't think the producers are trying to be on her side. They're not doing her any favors here. You guys, that's it. I know this is a super long episode, but I really just don't think we're going to be able to cover Reunion Part 2 the way that I would love to cover it. So I wanted to kind of give you guys as much as I could. I have another episode on Potomac that I'm going to put out as well. And then while I'm in the hospital, I have a little throwback scenes for you guys also, because I just love this conversation. I love this community that we're building. Thank you guys so much for subscribing, liking the videos, all of your wonderful classy comments. You guys are the best. Thank you for being patient with me as, you know, I have this baby that is a Housewives fan. Until next time.
Murder is murder.
What?
Okay.